Jenni, a small, quiet town. Jenni and Jason had built a life together. Married for 6 years, their love had once been bright and full of promise. Jenni worked as a dedicated nurse at the local clinic, and Jason held a steady job as an accounting specialist. They had carefully planned their finances, and Jenni was excited to take the next step in their marriage, starting a family. One evening, Jenni prepared a special dinner to share her joy. As Jason walked in, though, his expression was troubled. "I got laid off today," he said, his voice heavy with defeat. "But I've been thinking, maybe this is my chance to start fresh. I'm going to go back to college and pursue something I'm passionate about. I'll need your help to manage everything, bills, my debt, all of it." Jenni's heart sank, but she nodded. "We'll get through this together," she said, pushing her own dreams aside to support Jason's. Jason enrolled in school and quickly became engrossed in his studies. He spent long hours on campus and even more time with a study partner he spoke of often. At first, Jenni thought nothing of it. Jason needed support in his classes after being out of school for so long. But as weeks turned into months, Jason became indifferent to Jenni's efforts to keep their home running smoothly. He stopped asking about her day and grew dismissive when she shared her thoughts or feelings. The love and partnership they once had felt like a distant memory. Hoping to bridge the gap, Jenni turned to Jason's mother, Katie. She explained her worries, confiding that Jason seemed overwhelmed and distant. Katie listened patiently and encouraged Jenni to talk openly with her husband. But when Jenni gently brought up her concerns to Jason, he erupted. "You went behind my back and talked to my mom?" he snapped. "You don't believe in me, do you? You think I'm a failure?" Jenni was stunned. "I was just trying to help," she stammered, but Jason cut her off. "You should be supporting me, not doubting me," he said, his words sharp and cold. Feeling guilty and desperate to make things right, Jenni started taking extra shifts at the clinic. She gave Jason a weekly allowance to show her commitment to his dream, all while silently enduring the strain of carrying their entire household on her shoulders. One evening, as Jenni prepared dinner, Jason casually mentioned he was meeting his study partner after class for a late-night study session. His words felt like a knife twisting in her heart. She had seen how much time he spent with this person and couldn't ignore the growing suspicion that something was amiss. Jenni brushed aside her doubts, convincing herself that Jason was simply overwhelmed with his workload. But deep down, the cracks in their marriage grew wider, and the weight of Jason's indifference began to crush her spirit. As she lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, Jenni realized that the man she had loved and trusted was no longer the same. And for the first time, she wondered if their marriage could survive. Weeks passed, and Jason's cold behavior became the new normal. Jenni held on, hoping things would improve, until one day there was an unexpected knock at the door. Standing there was Greg, one of Jason's former coworkers. "I just wanted to check on Jason," Greg said warmly. "It's been a while since we talked. How's he handling things since he quit?" Jenni froze. "Quit?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah," Greg said, furrowing his brow. "Didn't he tell you? He quit months ago, said he wanted to focus on a new chapter in his life." Jenni's stomach twisted into knots. As Greg said his goodbyes, she sat down, trying to make sense of it all. Jason hadn't been laid off. He had lied. And if he could lie about this, what else was he hiding? Fueled by a mix of hurt and suspicion, Jenni started digging. Jason's phone, usually left carelessly on the counter, now rarely left his pocket. One evening, while Jason was in the shower, Jenni hesitated before picking it up. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through his messages. What she found shattered her world. Jason had been exchanging messages with someone saved under the name M. The messages were flirtatious, intimate, and unmistakably damning. With her heart pounding, Jenni dug further and discovered that M was Professor Mays, one of Jason's instructors at the college. Through quiet investigation, Jenni pieced together the story. Jason and Professor Mays had met months ago at a local deli near Jason's former job. What began as casual conversation quickly escalated into an affair. Jason had pursued her relentlessly, even quitting his stable job to enroll in her class and spend more time with her. Jenni was devastated, but she didn't confront Jason right away. Instead, she decided to take her time and weigh her options. Over the next few days, Jenni gathered evidence. She printed screenshots of their messages, noted Jason's erratic financial activity, and compiled everything into a neat file. She then approached the college administration board. "I have proof that one of your professors is involved in an inappropriate relationship with a student," she said, sliding the file across the table. The board members, visibly alarmed, assured her they would investigate immediately. Within days, the administration dismissed Professor Mays from her position. They wanted to avoid a scandal and moved quickly to sever ties with her. With her plan in motion, Jenni finally confronted Jason. She waited until he came home late one evening, casually tossing his bag onto the couch as if nothing was wrong. "I know everything," she said, her voice calm but firm. Jason froze. "What are you talking about? Professor Mays, the affair, the lies. You didn't get laid off. You quit your job to chase her." Jenni's voice cracked, but she held her ground. "I went to the college administration. She's been fired." Jason's face turned pale. You did what?" "I'm filing for divorce," Jenni continued, sliding the papers across the table. Jason's panic turned to desperation. "Jenni, please, don't do this. I made a mistake, but we can work through this." "No, Jason," she said, her voice steady. "You made choices, repeatedly. You betrayed me, our marriage, and everything we built together. I deserve better." Jason begged, not out of love but fear of what his family and friends would think. His pleas fell on deaf ears. Jenni moved into a modest one-bedroom apartment, leaving behind the home that had become a prison of deceit. Though her heart was heavy, she began the difficult journey of rebuilding her life. She channeled her pain into writing, documenting her story of betrayal, resilience, and healing. Her memoir, The Weight of Betrayal, a self-published book, struck a chord with readers. Through her writing, Jenni not only found her voice, but also helped countless others find the strength to leave toxic relationships behind. As for Jason, he was left to pick up the pieces of his shattered life. His family, disgusted by his actions, distanced themselves. Without Jenni's support, his financial troubles mounted, and his carefully constructed facade crumbled. Jenni, meanwhile, found solace in her newfound independence. One evening, as she watched the sunset from her small balcony, she whispered to herself, "I survived. I am stronger than I ever imagined." And so, Jenni's story became one of empowerment and hope, a testament to the strength it takes to walk away from betrayal and the courage to start anew. In the quiet hours of the night, Jenni often found herself lying awake, her thoughts consumed by what could have been. For years, she had dreamed of becoming a mother. She had imagined the warmth of a baby in her arms, the sound of tiny feet padding across the floor, and the laughter of a child filling their home. When she and Jason first married, they agreed to wait until they were financially stable. Jenni had worked tirelessly to ensure they reached that point, carefully saving, budgeting, and planning. But Jason's choices had derailed everything. The revelation that Jason had lied about being laid off and had quit his job to pursue his affair cut deeper than she could express. It wasn't just the betrayal of their marriage, it was the betrayal of their shared dreams. One evening, Jenni sat in her now empty bedroom, staring at the small journal she had once used to plan for their future family. It was filled with notes about baby names, nursery ideas, and even a timeline for when they could start trying. Her hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. "All of this," she whispered to herself, "gone because of his selfishness." Her mind raced back to the night she was so excited to tell Jason she was ready to start a family. She had imagined his joy, the way he would lift her into his arms and share in her excitement. Instead, he had come home with the news of his layoff, shattering her plans in an instant. Now, not only was their marriage over, but the dream of starting a family felt further away than ever. At 34, Jenni couldn't help but feel that time was slipping away from her. She was overwhelmed by a deep sense of loss, not just for the marriage she had once cherished, but for the life she had envisioned for herself. When Jenni confronted Jason about his betrayals, the topic of children inevitably came up. "You knew how much I wanted a baby," she said, her voice breaking. "I waited for you, supported you, and gave up so much. And for what? Lies, betrayal, and selfishness?" Jason looked down, unable to meet her gaze. I didn't think about that," he mumbled. "No, Jason," Jenni said, her tone sharp. "You didn't think about me. You didn't think about us. You took everything we built and threw it away." Jason tried to apologize, but his words rang hollow. The damage was done, and Jenni knew she could never forgive him for the life he had stolen from her. Though the pain of her lost dreams lingered, Jenni refused to let them define her. She poured her emotions into her writing, using her memoir to process her grief and find strength. As her book gained popularity, she connected with women from all over the world who shared similar stories of betrayal and resilience. Through these connections, Jenni began to see a glimmer of hope. She realized that while her dream of a family with Jason had been destroyed, her desire to be a mother didn't have to end. She started exploring other options, from adoption to fostering, knowing that there were many paths to motherhood. One day, Jenni sat down and wrote a letter to her future self. "Dear Jenni, I know you feel lost right now. I know the dream you've held on to for so long feels like it's slipping away. But I want you to remember this. You are strong, you are worthy, and you are capable of building a beautiful life, even if it looks different from what you imagined. You will find love again, whether in the laughter of a child you bring into your life, the support of the friends you've made, or the peace you find within yourself. This is not the end. It's a new beginning." As for Jenni, she found a new sense of purpose. She self-published a book to reclaim her self-worth. The book became a bestseller. Many women like Jenni faced similar situations in their life. Jenni found herself hiring a book agent to help her navigate through her new, demanding life. She took a break from working as a nurse for a while, until she felt comfortable, knowing she was giving her patients her full attention and care that they deserved. Her book tour introduced her to a world of inspiring people, and she discovered strength she never knew she had. One evening, as she gazed out at a sunset from her new balcony, she whispered to herself, "I am more than enough." And so Jenni's story of betrayal became one of resilience, hope, and empowerment, a reminder that even in the darkest times, new beginnings await port. With time, Jenni began to heal. She moved forward, not because she forgot her pain, but because she chose to rise above it. She dedicated herself to helping others, both through her work as a nurse and her writing. Jenni sat on a sun-warmed wooden bench at Maplewood Park, letting her gaze wander across the lush green lawns and brightly colored flower beds. The distant laughter of children playing filled the air with a gentle warmth she had grown to love. A soft breeze ruffled her hair, reminding her of how peaceful life could be when she allowed herself a moment to simply breathe. As she watched a mother chase after a giggling toddler, her thoughts drifted to the future she once imagined, one filled with the pitter-patter of small feet on the floors of a shared home. The ache in her chest was still there, a lingering echo of the dreams she had deferred. But there was also a quiet relief in knowing she was no longer tethered to Jason's lies and betrayals. Suddenly, a familiar voice broke through her thoughts. "Jenni?" She turned to see Dave, a friendly coworker from the clinic, easing himself onto the bench beside her. His warm smile was tinged with concern. "I've been wondering how you've been holding up," he said softly. "Are you still happy in your marriage?" A short laugh escaped Jenni's lips, tinged with irony. "Happy about not being attached to him anymore," she clarified, shaking her head. "Things ended, and honestly, it's for the best." She inhaled deeply, letting the crisp park air fill her lungs. A gentle breeze carried away the last residue of guilt she had once felt about leaving Jason. Dave's smile widened. "I'm really glad to hear you're finding your way," he said, meeting her eyes. His tone was light, but there was a hint of shyness in his posture. "Maybe if you'd like, we could grab dinner or see a movie sometime." Jenni felt a delicate flutter in her chest, something like hope. "I think I'd like that," she replied softly, surprised at just how right it felt to look ahead instead of behind. Jenni never imagined she would find herself embarking on a new relationship so soon after her marriage ended. Yet there she was, smoothing out the wrinkles on a floral dress and wondering if she had made the right decision. It was her third date with Dave, the kind and soft-spoken coworker from the clinic who had unexpectedly found his way into her life. Despite the lingering echoes of heartache, Jenni felt something stir within her. Something warm and hopeful, each time they spent an evening together. They had started with coffee and light conversation, then progressed to a casual dinner at a cozy bistro. Now, on their third date, Dave surprised her by saying, "I'd love for you to meet my family. My sister is hosting a small get-together this weekend." His voice was steady, but his hands fidgeted with a napkin as he spoke. Jenni sensed his nerves, and a small part of her felt them too. Meeting a new partner's family was a significant step, especially when she was still piecing her own life back together. Still, something about Dave's sincerity reassured her. Perhaps it was the honest way he looked into her eyes when he spoke, or the quiet strength he had shown during her roughest days at the clinic. "I'd like that," she replied, a soft smile curving her lips. She wanted to learn more about him, about who he was beyond the kind coworker who always offered a helping hand. The following Saturday, Jenni found herself standing on the porch of Dave's sister's house, heart thumping in her chest. Children's laughter spilled out into the front yard, and the air smelled of grilled vegetables and freshly baked bread. Dave gently guided her inside, introducing her to his sister, Maria, and a handful of other family members. Everyone was warm and welcoming, but Jenni's nerves didn't fully subside until she sat down at the dining table. Dinner was lively, filled with affectionate teasing and stories of Dave's childhood antics. Jenni found herself laughing more than she had in a long time. The comfortable atmosphere reminded her of the big family gatherings she once hoped to host herself. She felt a pang of sadness at that memory, but the kindness surrounding her lifted her spirits. Just as the meal was winding down, a small voice piped up from the other side of the table. "My Uncle Dave likes you a lot," said Katie, Dave's 7-year-old niece, her bright eyes fixed on Jenni. "He's liked you ever since you were in the nursing program, but you had a husband then." A shocked hush fell over the table. Dave's cheeks turned pink, and he quickly reached out to steady his glass of water. Jenni's heart fluttered at the admission. She had no idea Dave's interest in her had gone back that far. Glancing at him, she saw both embarrassment and sincerity in his expression. She gently set down her fork, smiling at Katie first, then turning to Dave. "Is that so?" she asked softly. Dave shrugged, unable to hide a shy grin. Well, yes, but I knew you were married, so I just respected that." Jenni felt the edges of her lips curve upward. After all the pain and disappointment she had suffered, this moment felt like a flicker of genuine affection cutting through the darkness. "I'm glad you waited," she said, hoping her words conveyed the gratitude and cautious hope she felt. As the evening drew to a close, Jenni found herself feeling lighter. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for sure. She wanted to see where this relationship with Dave could go. For the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to believe that happiness might be within reach again. Jenni could hardly believe how swiftly time had passed. 6 months had gone by since she and Dave began dating, and in that span, they had grown incredibly close. The easy way he made her laugh, his quiet but unwavering support, and the warmth she felt whenever he was near, all reminded her that perhaps love could indeed find its way back into her life. Still, the wounds from her previous marriage lingered, leaving her cautious about diving too deeply too soon. They were sitting on her living room couch one late autumn evening, the aroma of hot cocoa drifting in from the kitchen. The soft glow of the table lamp illuminated Dave's earnest expression as he gently took her hand. "Jenni," he began, eyes shining with both hope and nerves. "I know this might come as a surprise, but I've been thinking about our future a lot." He paused, swallowing hard before continuing. "I want you to know that I see a life with you. Marriage, a home, maybe even, well, lots of kids someday. I've never felt this strongly about anyone before." Jenni felt her heart skip a beat. Part of her wanted to say yes immediately, to finally embrace the possibility of happiness she thought was lost. But a tighter, more guarded part of her hesitated. She squeezed Dave's hand, appreciating the courage it took for him to bare his soul. "Dave, that means so much to me," she said softly. "But before I give you an answer, there's something I need you to do." She rose from the couch and retrieved a hardbound book from her shelf. Handing it to him, she explained, "This is my story, The Weight of Betrayal. I wrote it after everything that happened with Jason. It's raw. It holds every moment of heartbreak, every lie, every shattered dream. If we're going to talk about marriage, I need you to fully understand where I've been. Then we can talk more about our future." Dave nodded solemnly, taking the book with care, as though he were holding a delicate piece of her heart. Over the next few nights, he immersed himself in Jenni's words, devouring page after page of her deeply personal journey. The more he read, the more he realized just how profound her pain had been, and just how bravely she had risen from it. When he finally closed the book, he felt a surge of emotions: admiration, empathy, and an even deeper love for the woman he was growing to cherish. It wasn't just her resilience that moved him, but her honesty, her vulnerability, and her unwavering hope despite all she'd endured. The following weekend, Dave took Jenni out for a walk through Maplewood Park, where the vibrant fall leaves littered the paths in gold and crimson. Near a quiet pond, he turned to her, reached for her hand, and spoke gently. "I read your book," he said, voice husky with emotion. "I'm so proud of you for surviving, for sharing your truth, and for giving yourself a chance to love again. I want you to know I'm here for the long haul. I want a future with you, and maybe even that football team of kids, whenever you're ready." Tears pricked Jenni's eyes as she squeezed his hand. In that moment, she felt something she hadn't in a very long time: utter faith in another person. The road ahead might still hold uncertainties, but with Dave by her side, she sensed that, this time, love could truly be worth the risk. 15 years had passed since Dave and Jenni said their vows, and the laughter of 4 children now filled their home. Surrounded by balloons and scribbled drawings, Jenni took a moment to reflect on her remarkable journey. She remembered the pain, the betrayals, and the heartbreak. Yet here she stood, stronger, wiser, and loved in a way she once believed impossible. Dave's warm hand in hers reminded her of the life they had built together. On their 10th anniversary, she closed her eyes, feeling deeply grateful for second chances and certain that every challenge had led her to this perfect moment. The end. Thanks for listening. Help our channel by liking and subscribing.